whoo. First I have to say, whoo, but I really want to say, oi, oi. That's hard. Oh, there's an audience here. Hi, my name is Benyamin Zev. Hello. It's not an AA meeting. You don't have to say, hi, I'm Benyamin Zev. Benyamin Zev, it's just my name. But the past few nights I've been saying it's my Hebrew name, which it is, and I am known as Benyamin Zev in some contexts. But I'm also Gregg Bordowitz, who has a show downstairs. This Sukkah Spectacular is part of that show. It is a performance. It's new, based on older performances, but I really wanted to do something special. I really wanted to do a Sukkah Spectacular. We are in this period, well, for those of you who are celebrating, we are in this period passing through the high holidays into Sukkot. Last Thursday was Yom Kippur, Day of Atonement, Day of Repentance, but also Day of Forgiveness. People forget that part. People forget that part. It's somber, it's sad, we grieve, we acknowledge who we lost, we try to make amends to anyone who we have offended, but we might be forgiven. Actually, chances are we will be forgiven. So tshuva, the return, it's important to remember that forgiveness is part of it. And you have an opportunity to forgive others. Last night, well, let's review, because this is the third night. Not all of you have been here. Not all of you have perhaps watched this on a live webcast. Some of you know this. I know some of you know this. But we'll review. Sukkot was a pilgrimage holiday that preceded the Torah, which is the 5 books of Moses, but was absorbed within the Torah and made into a pilgrimage holiday and a celebration of the harvest in autumn. And those who build sukkahs, the Sukkah builders build flimsy structures. You'll see them all over Williamsburg and Crown Heights. Some of them are fancy. In Israel, Palestine, those who build sukkahs build more like structural, like wooden ones. The sukkahs of my childhood were really made from bed sheets and old wood and palm, if you could get it, something grassy looking. And then you would decorate it. So there was a thing to do with certainly in Hebrew school, it was something we did was decorate the sukkah, and you decorated the sukkah with pomegranates, which were signs of spring, fertility, fecundity. This yellow object here is a replica, a large, somewhat comic replica of an S-rogue. I brought one second. S-rogues are very precious, so you have to take care of them. I do not have a silver case for my S-rogue. How many people here actually have a silver case for their S-rogue? You. Good for you. Good for you. That's nice. What's it like? You have a candelabra too? Nice. Good. Good for you. I'm genuinely happy for you. Good for you. I have a box. But the box works because it's very well packed. Not ecologically sound, but it passes. So this is the cheapest S-rogue you can get online, which is not so cheap. It's like around $50, $60. It's a real one, and it has intact the patum. Very important, the patum. We even went through the trouble of making a patum. The patum is what connects the S-rogue, which is kind of like a mix between a grapefruit and lemon. It's a citrus. It's called a citron. And I will talk about its ritual significance as I did last night in a second. I'm going to go through this fast because this is review for a lot of you, and we're not doing homework or anything like that. So, but I really want you to know this stuff. So, we build flimsy structures in which we eat, debate, sing, dance. Some people sleep in their sukkahs. To remember the wandering in 40 years, the Israelites wandered for 40 years in the desert. And for folks like me, this is in some ways a model. That's why I really like sukkahs, this notion of wandering. It's no fun being a refugee. It's no fun being a refugee. I'm not a refugee. My family was, but I'm not. They made sure that I grew up in a safe place because they were refugees. But still, we think about what it is to dwell in diaspora, and there are quite a number of diasporas around the world. And I think about diaspora in relationship to the nation state. There's three things. There's the Jews, Israelis, and Zionists. I'm only one of them. I'm an American Jew. I was born here. I have citizenship nowhere else. And I'm not a Zionist. I'm not a Zionist. I am content in Queens, which is where I'm from. I was born in Queens, bar mitzvahed in Young Israel of New Hyde Park, an Orthodox temple on 260th Street. Check it out, it still exists. And I love to celebrate this holiday because for me, this holiday is about a kind of provisional way of living and transporting one's culture and bringing it into debate with, not debates, but bringing it into perhaps harmony, bringing it into relation with the surrounding culture. This is the beautiful thing about Jewish history. There are Jewish Platonists. The Jews are constantly having to figure out what it means to be Jewish in relationship to the context in which they find themselves. So there's the Jewish Enlightenment, the Haskalah, there's Jewish modernity, there's the notion of being a Jewish American. We've talked about rock stars, we've talked about rabbis, and we've talked about blending cultural genres to produce new joy, I would say. New music, new art, right? This is very necessary to culture. Culture doesn't exist in a bubble or a vacuum. I certainly do not want to live in a world where those kinds of boundaries are policed. My cultural references, they're for you. There's no boundary around my cultural references. Come into my sukkah. You're welcome. This is part of the history, part of the tradition, part of what we do. We have guests in the sukkah, we eat in the sukkah, we study in the sukkah. Yeah. So another thing we do in the sukkah, one second. Is we shake the lulav and the esrog. Now, the lulav is made up of a palm branch, a few willow branches, and a few myrtle branches. This together with the esrog is an anthropomorphic image. It's the body. The esrog is the heart, which in biblical physiology is the heart-mind, right? The heart is related to the intellect in biblical physiology. The palm branch and the palm leaves are about the tree, the body. The palm branch is the spine. The myrtle leaves represent eyes, eyes with which to read, eyes with which to see, eyes, most importantly, to read the Torah. The willow, the thinner branches, leaves are the lips with which to speak, the lips with which to kiss. Together, this is a divine figure. It's called the four species, or the arba minin. The arba minin is four, coincidentally, the four letters of the four-letter Hebrew name of God, which is unpronounceable. I will not pronounce it. This is the Vav, the second letter of what is called the Tetragrammaton. The Vav is the channel from what's above and what's below. Nothing is as it appears to be, and everything is significant. Nothing is as it appears to be, and everything is significant. This is a way to understand the material world. It's also a way to read the Torah. It's also a way to think about poetry and art. Nothing is what it appears to be, and everything is significant. Let me just go put these down. I have to protect the patum. 1 second. I don't know what happens if the patum falls off or it's not kosher. I don't know what you're supposed to do. Anyone know? Anyone know what you're supposed to do if the patum falls off? What's that? Just have to get a new one, right? Yeah. Oh yes, you can turn it into marmalade. That's right. Thank you. Help me out here. Let's crowdsource our Junis. So yeah, that's it. I've always, have you done that? Have you made? No. Yeah. That's what you're supposed to do. Actually, you can make marmalade or jam after the citron. The citron has taste, and that's a very important feature of it. And lots of people make jam or marmalade. For some reason, for some morbid reason, I've saved the last two esrogim from the last 2 years. Maybe it's my pandemic esrogim. I have no idea. But they're like they just shrink. They just get dehydrated, like a Ron Poe peel fruit hydrator. I'm afraid to eat them because they don't really look like plums or like prunes. They're just these green things, which my partner Christine reminded me that could be mold. Last night we were talking about rabbis, and I want to continue to talk about that. But let's have a mood shift. If this was a movie, I would have just scored some music lowly playing underneath me, and it would kind of get louder, and that would be a transition. It's not a movie. It will be. But let's get a mood shift here. I know we were going to do lots of Freilach and Kolomika, but, Kolmaika. But, I still think I needed like an alta nigun.
Okay.
Did I get an alta nigun?
Alta nigun. Very good.
Thank you. This is the Isle of Klezbos. Yes, big round of applause for the Isle of Klezbos. On the drums is Yves Secular, leader of the band. my friends and a very talented and lovely person, Yves Secular. Yves, could you please introduce the band before we go on?
Yes, thank you. We have on the accordion and the keyboard, Shoko Nagai. On the trombone, we have Reut Regev.
Woo!
And our returning guest Klezbian on the clarinet, Alex Park.
Thank you, thank you. How are you feeling, Yves?
Oh, it's such a pleasure to be back here. It's like, wow, it's daylight and we're still in the Sukkah with you. It's beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. Taka Machaya. It's kind of like being outside. It's such a pleasure, Taka Machaya. This is great. It's our last performance of this, but I don't think it's the last time we're going to work together, Isle of Klezbos. I'll just say that.
Oh, well, we'll gladly go along with your scheme.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, not funny. I'm not going to be funny. Any laughter that happens in relationship to what happens on stage is purely coincidental. I take no responsibility for it. I wanted to pick up last night. I realized last night's performance, I was a rabbi, and I ended with Abraham Joshua Heschel. And I spoke a little bit about Heschel, but I didn't get to the point that I wanted to get to, which was that Heschel, Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, is one of the most important 20th century Jewish theologians. And there were some reasons I gave last night, but I didn't make this point. Heschel is extremely important because he answered perhaps one of the most urgent questions that Jews had after World War II. The question, which my grandfather was asking way into his dementia, my grandfather died at 96 2 years ago. I was very close with Max Glassman. Zichrono livraha, Zichrono livraha. Got to conjugate the gender. Zichrono livraha, which means may his memory live for a blessing. So if I say someone's name and I say Zichrono livraha or Ziel, that's what you know what I mean. So Max Glassman, Zichrono livraha. Zichrono livraha, yeah. Up until the age of his death, was asking, how can you believe in God after Auschwitz? Well, that was a period in his senility. At a certain point, he forgot the question, and he just started going to the temple services at his assisted living place, and he had no hearing whatsoever, but he used to pray from memory. He used to daven. Daven is the word for pray. He used to daven very, very loudly because he was deaf. But he knew everything by heart because he had learned it as a kid. And the other people in the assisted living were not so happy. But I'm really grateful to the cantor because the cantor was like, let Max pray at whatever volume he wants. That's good. That's good. That's good pastoral care. It's your issue. Max davens loudly. It's your issue. But that's not what I wanted to tell you. My grandfather, like many Jews, was obsessed, particularly of his generation. He fought in World War II. Was how can you believe in God after Auschwitz? Heschel came up with the most brilliant response. Why are you bringing God into that question? People did that to people. People perpetrated genocide against people. God had nothing to do with it. And if you're concerned about what people do to people, then as a person, you've got a job to do. But if you're looking for an easy out, that somehow this was something God did to punish people, nah. Axiomatic to Judaism is free will. Axiomatic, that means fundamental, free will. People did that to people. People continue to do that to people. Climate chaos? I know in the Bible you read about hail and storms and plagues, the pandemic. God? Why bring God into the question? People did that to people. Viruses cause pandemics. Capitalism causes pandemics. Viruses make people sick. Capitalism causes pandemics. It's not God. If you're looking for easy answers in an interventionist God, don't come to Judaism. Not funny. There's nothing funny. There's nothing funny. 2 days before this performance, I had no idea what season it is. No idea what season it is. It was hot, it was cold, it was gray, no sun. Rain predicted, didn't happen. It's fall, it's t-shirt weather. And this is the least of it. I'm worried about fashion. No, not funny. There's nothing funny. We might laugh, because laughter has nothing to do necessarily with being funny. We laugh when we're nervous, we laugh when we don't know what else to say. Sometimes laughter is coincidental with a joke. Sometimes we laugh and we don't even get the joke. We laugh now when we see each other, because we can't see each other. I'm performing to a room with masks. It's okay, don't take your mask off. I agreed to not have my mask on so I can perform to a room with people with masks. Windows are open, we've done everything we can. But not funny. My really good friends, the feminist theorist and gender studies figure and affect theorist Lauren Berlant, died in June. Zichrona livraha. May her memory live for a blessing. All this stuff about humor I learned from her. She was the one who taught me that not funny might be appropriate, not funny is a position of power. I'm quoting Lauren now. You're a teacher, you walk into the room, all the students are laughing, they're playing, they're talking, and all of a sudden you walk in, they notice you're there, they shut up. You have the power of not funny. If you're a teacher, you have the power of not funny. You're the figure of authority that just walked into the room and people come to attention. That power can be abused, that power can be used. But not funny. This is also famously known, and Lauren made a point of this when she lectured on humor. Judd Apatow, the very, very important and famous comedian and director, on the night that Donald Trump was elected, tweeted, "No jokes. No jokes. This is not funny. I don't want to hear jokes about Trump." And people are, some people are like, well, you need jokes, you need humor, especially to get you through the tough times. And I fell into it. I thought I did too. I kind of started watching the late night television shows and looking for some kind of affirmation that I wasn't crazy and that there was something funny to be found in this. But after a while, it wore thin, right? After a while, you just realize those folks on the late night shows, those folks on CNN, they're like their counterparts. They're just selling a point of view to sell products. So if you turn into a late night show and they do the monologue on Trump with the hair and each one has their own impersonations and Then they get on with the business of show. It's just audience ratings. It's not like Karl Kraus and Der Fackel writing an anti-fascist newspaper. They got us coming and going both ways. They got us paying and going both ways. We just tune into the little niche we want to hear, or I do. You don't. Maybe you can deal with it. Me, I stopped reading news a long time ago. I listen to music every day. And I think about doing shows like this. Point is, don't blame God. We've got a job to do, don't blame God. Oh, help me get out of this. I need like a colomaica. Okay, the colomaica. Beautiful, thank you. Thank you, very beautiful. Such a great band, very talented. I wish I could just take you with me, you know? I would just love for you to we could walk down the street together. If I have to make a point, if I have to make an emphasis, I could just say, I need a colomaica.
We'll entourage you anytime.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
good.
Can be
Entourage,
done.
speaking of entourage, how many people love the comedy of Yaakov Moshe HaKonin Maza?
Tell me more.
You don't know Yaakov Moshe HaKonin Maza?
No.
Well, actually, that's Jackie Mason's real name.
Oy, a broch.
Oya brach, oya brach. Jackie Mason used to stand like this, oya brach. I think it's really funny outing Jackie Mason because Jackie Mason's entire act was being Jewish. Like he couldn't pass. The whole thing was that he couldn't pass. But I blew my mind when I found out that Jackie Mason's real name is Yaakov Moshe HaKohen Maza, sibling of 3 brothers, son of a rabbi, who was the son of a rabbi. Jackie Mason had to be a comedian. No choice in the matter. He tried to be a rabbi. He went to yeshiva, one of the most famous and oldest in New York. Had to be a comedian. And we're grateful for him, even though his politics. What do you do? What do you do with that? Someone you love. My brother-in-law is an anti-vaxxer and a Trump supporter. Thank God he's alive, but he just got sick with the Delta variant. He's alive. He's out of the ICU. What do you do with that? Someone you love, someone who's important to your family. We're all wrestling with that. I love Jackie Mason. And actually, he was a Democrat. He hated Nixon. He was really funny in the 60s and 70s. Then in the 80s, he goes Meshuggah. Supports Maya Kahana, crazy Zionist nut. Fox News would call him when they needed a Jewish voice. Such an expert, Jackie Mason. But I saw him. That's why I thought about it, with the band. I saw him. Fine and Shapiro's. Fine and Shapiro's was one of the last great kosher Jewish delis in New York. Didn't survive the pandemic, but it's actually 3 blocks away from my therapist. So every Thursday after my therapist, I would have a second round of therapy by diving into a plate of pastrami. And one time I was sitting and eating there, and this ancient man in a purple leisure suit and like fire red dyed hair came in. It was Jackie Mason. I recognized the voice. With 6 people. Someone say, wow? Yes, wow. Jackie Mason, Jackie Mason. Jackie Mason is in Fine and Shapiro's. Emmis. Hand to God. Emmis. Jackie Mason on the linoleum. Well, not the linoleum. He's sitting on a chair on the linoleum in the middle of Fine and Shapiro, which hasn't changed since the 70s. It's sepia. You just walk into Fine and Shapiro's, and it's just sepia. And the waitstaff is wearing black pants and a white shirt. And there Jackie Mason walks in, and I just get to eat pastrami. I ate pastrami and listened to Jackie Mason.
In the presence. In the presence.
You know, that's New York. That's New York. Unfortunately, Fine and Shapiro did not survive the pandemic. I am very glad. I don't care how many lives I took, how many years I took off my life with that much pastrami. Do not care. Do not care. Won't miss them. I miss the pastrami. Speaking of that, you know, I have relatives who used to perform in the Borscht Belt, and I'm really happy to actually. I'm sorry, Uncle Mordechai, but I'm gonna call you out a little bit. I know you just wanted to come and see, but my uncle Mordechai is here, and Mordechai, don't be embarrassed. Mordechai started out in the Borscht Belt as a tummler, what do you call it? Social director, but a tummler is better. A tummler at a Borscht Belt country club would go around and say, Mr. and Mrs. Goldstein, have you met Mr. and Mrs. Goldfarb? You know, you live near each other. Pitkin Avenue, yes. You haven't seen each other at shul? Pinochle? Pinochle? We're getting a pinochle game going. No pinochle? There's shuffleboard by the pool. The Silverbergs are there. They're not far from you in Brooklyn. That's what a tummler is. A tummler walks around a Borscht Belt country club and introduces everybody, makes sure everyone feels comfortable, they know each other, they get, everyone knows who's there and what they like and who they can hang out and have pinochle and play with. Morty was an excellent tummler. Jerry Lewis was a tummler. Lots of comedians were tumblers. That's how they started. Morty, I'm sorry, I didn't even talk to you about this, but could you come up and do a set, one of your old bits? Come on, Morty, please. Morty. But everything I know, I learned from you. Morty. You can take your mask off, we'll get you a mic. Burnt. Get Morty a mic. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, it's on. Wow. Thanks for forcing me to come up here, Greg. I mean, Benjamin. It's quite a way to make someone feel like being funny, you know, being forced. Oh. Thanks for having me as a guest in your, an exalted guest in the Sukkah. I feel like one of the patriarchs. Yeah. I don't know about that story you told about me, though. I don't think that was true. It might have been one of my lives. I've had so many. I don't know. I haven't done this in a while, yeah. Or ever, maybe. I don't think I've ever done this, actually. Hello. All right, I'm Mordecai. I'm Uncle Morty. Yep. Welcome. Greg, I would only do this for you. I seen all your videotapes, downstairs. You're a very intellectual young man, I'm not particularly intellectual, not particularly, or very arty, per se. I'm not very arty. I also don't feel very funny. Maybe I could get a rim job. Is that what they're called? Hey! That was funny, actually. I didn't mean to be. What are they called? They're called that. Thank you, Isle of Klezbos. Wait a minute. Hold on a minute. Yeah. Let's do it. I'll just introduce myself again, and then you do it. Okay. This is fun. I'm Mordecai. Oh, that was delayed, though. But anyway, listen. I don't feel very funny. Can I just be honest? I don't feel very funny today. I just don't. I'm just going to be honest with you. My heart is broken. And I'm feeling very sad. I wonder if I'm the only one that's ever cried in a sukkah. I don't know if the patriarchs cry in the sukkah, but that's just where I am. I'm happy to be here with you, with other bodies, I think we're here. Are we here? I think we're here. I think I see you. Has anyone seen my body? You can see my body? Right, you can. If I had known you could see my body, I would have gone to the, the bathhouse, not the sukkah or something. I don't know. But here's my body, I guess. I usually tuck, but I'm letting it all out tonight. I don't feel particularly funny. And this is such a setup, comedian. Listen, I'm a comedian. I'm by far the oldest person here, right? I've been around for thousands and thousands of years. Thousands of years. I'm like the oldest tree in the forest. I'm like what they call the wolf tree, the elder, the old growth. I could make a joke about that, how many old growths I have, but I'm the old growth. And, I'm still here. I've been around, I come from a time before there were labels like comedian, No, we were just gassy. And we had stomach issues, and we were funny. It was funny. Or like gay. No. We were just hairy. I've been through many, many plagues. Many plagues. Some of which are still going on, as you know. I mean, locusts, fires, floods, polio, HIV, COVID, Zionism, many, many plagues. And, we had to be our own rabbis, We had to be our own doctors. We had to be our own comedians, Wasn't anyone gonna, it was us. We're not all here. We're not all here. I mean, literally, we're not all here. We're here, there's some people on the internet, it's hybrid, but you know what I mean? We are not all here. We did not all make it through. Some of us are here, and we're ghosts. And that's just the truth of what's going on. We've always been heartbroken. I miss the trees. I miss my fellow trees. Okay, let's see. I miss one particular tree quite a bit. We fell into a romance, as I do from time to time. Very rarely, but sometimes. And they were not available, as usual. It's my love life. I guess that's a joke. My love life's a joke. My love life is the punchline. I survived multiple plagues, but it's my love life that's going to kill me. Yeah, well, I don't mean to be dramatic, but life is a temporary dwelling, We're only here right now. I mean, we are temporary dwellings. I'm literally decaying right here in front of you all. We all are. Oh, yeah, I'm a sad sack. But, all right, let me pull it together. I was trying to leave you with some, trying to leave you with something. I want to leave you with my heartache. I want to leave you with some Uncle Wisdom. A prayer that we can all do together. A prayer to a prayer to embrace our broken hearts, you know? We pray, in my experience, we pray with our tears, we pray with our anger, we pray with our laughter, and we pray by just taking small actions through the heartache together. So let's try. You could just start here. We can do it with our masks. Maybe we want to add a little growl. Maybe we can add a little howl. I don't hear anyone out there, though. Is anyone out there? Oh! Oh! I'm Uncle Mordecai. Thank you. Come visit your uncle sometime. I miss you all. All right.
Thank you, Uncle Mordechai. Thank you, Adam Mordechai. Let's give a big round of applause to Uncle Mordechai, who is also known as Sasha Yanau. Sasha Yanau is an extraordinarily talented performer, and I'm very grateful that Uncle Mordechai could make a visit. Thank you very much. And you should check out Sasha Yanau's work online and wherever they perform, whenever they perform. That was brilliant. Thank you. You're a tough act to follow, Uncle Mordechai. Which is good, because I'm going to bring this around anyway. A little bit of a shift in tone. What kind of tone do we need now? We're ending. We're going. So let's get some.
It would be a little bit of a swing change.
Swing change. Yes,
And,
we haven't heard Yiddish swing yet. Well, we have, but let's hear another Yiddish swing.
So let me just say that we're about to play a really famous one. The Andrews sisters did a big English crossover version of this, but originally it was in Yiddish. It's called By Mir Bist Du Shein, and Sholem Sekunda famously sold it for what seems like not much money, but look, he sold like a whole packet of songs and got some cash, and little did he know that it was going to be like By Mir Bist Du Shein, hitting the top of the charts. And the tune we just played for Uncle Morty to come and go, you don't mind if I call you Morty? All right, thank you, I thank you. Was a little something called Cartagena Hussitl, and that was composed by Rick Faulkner. There, I've said it. So here we go with By Mir Bist Du Shein, which means, by me, you are gorgeous. One, two, 1, 2, 3.
Thank you. Isle of Klezbos. Isle of Klezbos. Beautiful version of By Mia Bistashane. I used to listen to the the Barry sisters play that. My grandparents had that album. I love that too. I love the English translation, By Mia Bistashane. By me, you're beautiful. I love that. My grandmother, I spoke English in the household, so we would, prepositions were always fraught. So my grandmother was not a happy person, so I'd always say, Nanny. I called my grandmother Nanny. Nanny, how you doing? You shouldn't know from it. You shouldn't know from it. Like her afflictions were happening from somewhere else. They came from somewhere else, and I guess they did. But you shouldn't know from it. My enemies should know from it, but you shouldn't know from it. My enemies should know from it. Tatala, you shouldn't know from it. Like, problems are geography. They're exported or imported. And I guess for immigrants, they are. But I love that locution.
Tatala. You're Tatala.
I'm Tatala. Tatala. Shena Punam. These were my names as a child. Tatala, Shena Punam. Although that did not stop my grandmother from saying Kishmir Tuchas. My grandmother constantly taught, when I was young, like 4, 5, like I remember, Kishmir Tuchas. Gregg Kish. She just shortened it to Kish. Because I knew it meant Kishmir Tuchas. When she was really angry, she'd say, Kishmir Tuchas in Macy's window. My grandmother, on a regular basis, asked me to perform a ritualized sexual act in the window of the largest department store in New York City.
She instilled values.
Kishmir Tuchas in Macy's window. I love my grandmother, Gloria. Tough as nails, Rosie the Riveter type. I just remember her in a house coat, rollers, clip-on earrings, drinking beer out of the bottle, chain-smoking Virginia Slims, and, keeping me in line. Tatala, Shena Punam, Kishmir Tuchas in Macy's window. She was a little bit on the spectrum. And that was before they had these diagnoses. So she just got Librium from a physician. That's true. That is true. That is how women with mental illnesses were dealt with when I was growing up. Take a pill. No therapy. My family, we're Jews. Therapy is like our version of sports, right? I mean, we just get around and talk about our therapists. Me and my friends, that's what we do. Who knows from the Mets, but we talk about Freud or Winnicott. Or Klein. No, but my family was totally avoidant of therapy. When I first went into therapy, my mother said, "You speak to a stranger and you talk about us? And you pay them? You pay them to listen about it? What are you telling them? What are you telling them? What are you telling them about us?" It's for me, Mom. They don't tell anybody. It's part of the contract. Don't tell them too much. We're winding down here. I'm going to do a shameless plug for myself, or not. Benyamin Zev would like to announce that Gregg Bordowitz has a new book. Thank you. Gregg Bordowitz's new book, hot off the presses, produced by Triple Canopy. I am grateful to Alexander Provin and Maya Binyan, who edited this book, to Molly Kleinman, the director of Triple Canopy. I'm grateful to Triple Canopy, a wonderful publishing concern. They have produced and edited together the transcripts for 3 years of performances into this neat little book. And I hope you will get it. It's actually available right there, signed copies right there are available there in the bookstore, because we're going to end early. You don't have to buy it, but you didn't pay to get in. And you guys out there, YouTube is free. So I hope you enjoy it. My grandmother would be proud. My grandmother was most proudest of the fact that I taught. When I first started teaching, I taught at Brown's University. My grandmother used to tell people, my grandson, he teaches at Brown's University. What? I don't know. He make art? I don't know. But he teaches at Brown's University. I like to end the series. I always like to end the series because I've talked about rock stars, I've talked about comedians, I've talked about rabbis, not in that order, but that's what I've talked about. I talked about rock stars the first night, rabbis the second night, comedians this night. A person who was enormously influential on me, who I actually did get to meet, but did not know, was Allen Ginsberg. I think the most important line of poetry I ever read, not the best line of poetry I ever read, but the most important line of poetry I ever read and heard Allen read was, "America, I am turning my queer shoulder to the wheel." That's why I'm standing here now. America, I'm turning my queer shoulder to the wheel. But if you don't mind, I'm not going to end anything with a monologue. I'm just going to read to you the footnote to Howl, which I love to read. Allen Ginsberg's poem Howl has a footnote, and I'm going to read it. And because that's my exit. I'm telling you now. Because the Sukkah only has 3 walls. So we can break frame whenever we want. So I'm telling you now, I'm going to read this poem, then I'm going to say, "Good night!" And that's the cue. You just play me off. Okay?
We're with you.
Yes, I feel that. I feel very supported by you. Thank you to the Isle of Klezbos. Thank you to Uncle Mordechai. Also known as Sasha Yano, whose work you should know if you haven't already. I'm sure many of you do know her work, but their work. And thank you to PS1. The crew has just been fantastic, all of you. I can't name all of you, but I'm just going to name a few of you. Chris Masulo, Taja Cheek, Carly Santori, and there's quite a number of other people involved with the crew. Thank you so much. You've made this seem so easy. Thank you. And thank you all for coming. Thank you. So, footnote to Howl, Allen Ginsberg, 1955, Berkeley. Holy, 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 holy. The world is holy. The soul is holy. The skin is holy. The nose is holy. The tongue and cock and hand and asshole, holy. Everything is holy. Everybody's holy. Everywhere is holy. Every day is an eternity. Every man's an angel. The bum's as holy as the seraphim. The madman is as holy as you, my soul, are holy. The typewriter is holy. The poem is holy. The voice is holy. The hearer is holy. The ecstasy is holy. Holy Peter, holy Alan, holy Solomon, holy Lucian, holy, sadly, holy. Holy Cassidy, holy the unknown buggered and suffering beggars, holy the hideous human angels, holy my mother in the insane asylum, holy the cocks of the grandfathers of Kansas, holy the groaning saxophone, holy the bop apocalypse, holy the jazz bands, marijuana, hipsters, peace and junk and drums, holy the solitudes of skyscrapers and pavements, holy the cafeterias filled with millions, holy the rivers, mysterious tears under the streets, holy the lone juggernaut, holy the vast lamb of the middle class, holy the crazy shepherds of rebellion, who digs Los Angeles is Los Angeles, holy New York, holy San Francisco, holy Peoria, and holy Seattle, holy Paris, holy Tangiers, holy Moscow, holy Istanbul, holy time and eternity, holy eternity and time, holy the clocks in space, holy the fourth dimension, holy the fifth international, holy the angel in Malach, holy the sea, holy the desert, holy the railroad, holy the locomotive, holy the visions, holy the hallucinations, holy the miracles, holy the eyeball, holy the abyss, holy forgiveness, mercy, charity, faith, holy hours, bodies, suffering, magnanimity, holy the supernatural, extra brilliant, intelligent kindness of the soul. Thank you. You're all holy. You're all tzaddiks. Thank you.